Hey everyone, Brandon with Real Estate Mentor here. Today we're going to be chatting with Patrick Carmichael, and we're going to learn from Patrick how he's able to scale his portfolio up to 5 properties working with Real Estate Mentor. Really excited to chat with you today, Patrick. So thanks for taking the time, man. From just a background perspective about you, some context, can you tell us a little bit about your background and just a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a pastor of a church of about like 150 people in Los Angeles, in San Fernando Valley. Have beautiful wife, 3 precious kids. They're going to be turning 11, 9, and 7 this year, and just loving life. I have been bivocational as a pastor because we planted our church almost 10 years ago now, and we planted with 40 people. And God has just done some amazing, cool things through the church and through the ministry and in the community. And as He has slowly grown the church, I all along the way, I've had to be doing kind of double duty with other jobs. And so I've been also a part-time Bible teacher at a high school in the area. And so doing that bivocationally has been awesome, and I've loved it, but it's also been taxing. And then as our church has gotten bigger, now that we're around 150 people, it kind of seemed impossible for me to be doing the part-time teaching as well. And so that was actually one of the things that I reached out to you and Blake, because I was thinking, man, is there another way that I can get a source of passive income so that I can be more involved with my church and not have to be bivocational anymore?
So take me back to that time, and maybe you can describe in a little bit more detail where you were at with your family and your finances and kind of that bivocational lifestyle that you were describing to
Yeah.
me before working with Real Estate Mentor.
We were thinking, trying to be financially independent. That was the goal of how can we get to a place where we can be, we got nothing that I'm needing to do 2 jobs for. I can just be all in at church. And so that was kind of the framework in our mindset of, okay, how can we move towards being financially independent? And really what we were looking at was, it was probably going to be around 82 or 83 years old that I would finally have everything figured out and finished the Dave Ramsey way, just because, I don't make that much as a pastor, which is totally fine. And because I wasn't going to be able to teach constantly in the part-time job. So that's kind of where it became a dilemma for us, where looking at the trajectory that we were on, looking at moving forward with that, the time frame was, just kind of near impossible to retire at a decent age. And so that was when I was just kind of thinking through, looking at the game plan here, something I think needs to shift to be financially independent a little bit earlier than that, to not have to teach part-time, to be all in with church, to not have to have my wife teach in homeschooling. So there were a lot of kind of pieces to the puzzle that were already kind of ruminating in my mind. But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it for me. So we had a very clear direction with our finances, but the issue was going to be the time frame of it. And the time frame was just not doable. I was going to have to, number one, teach part-time until 82, 83 years old. Hannah was going to have to, my wife's going to have to work. And then we weren't going to be having any form of investment beyond our house and beyond a couple things in retirement. So that's kind of where we were looking at going, something's got to change.
And so at that point, when you're seeing that maybe that trajectory and that game plan is just going to take a lot longer than you maybe at first anticipated and wanted to, did you think about real estate at that point?
Yeah, good questions. So what was going through my mind was I was thinking about real estate. My ultimate goal was to buy another house in LA, to keep my house that I'm in currently and rent it. That was the goal initially. And what I realized was in LA, that's going to be near impossible for me to do, to be able to buy another house, move into it, be able to pay for it on a pastor's salary and, be able to keep my other house. So that's where I realized when I was crunching the numbers for that dream, that was the goal, as far as real estate was concerned. And when I was crunching the numbers for that, it wasn't going to be until I was in my 60s that I was going to be able to pull the trigger on another house. And this was actually before housing prices started going, skyrocket crazy, and before interest rates started going up. So now, I mean, there's no way I could do it. So that's when I did reach out to Blake, because he was talking about real estate, and I kind of laid that before him of like, man, how do you do this when, I'm in LA? Is it impossible to do this in LA? And that's when he said there's other markets that you can do this in, and you can scale it in a much different way. Because he said what you're trying to do is a good idea, but that's not going to be a possible investment for you in LA on your income. So scale it at a different pace in a different place, and then you'll be able to do what you're. So he said what you're thinking of is actually what we do and what we're trying to do, but you're just not able to think of it in a way that's a reality to you, because you only have one demographic, you only have one location in mind. And so he said, there's other places that you can do this. So that's kind of what got the ball rolling.
Cool. Yes. So just to kind of summarize a little bit, so you got you have this friendship with my partner in real estate mentor, Blake, who kind of hooked you up with me. We walked through some of the other kind of alternatives, maybe things that were outside of your original imagination as to how you could scale portfolio, thinking like, it's really what I was trying to do, but it was a little bit different twist on it, something that was outside the norm, but it really had the kind of powerful outcome. And you saw the way that Blake and I have used the same strategy. And so you signed on to the program, you started like just getting after it so quick, going through some of the content, hopping on the calls, getting into the Q&A sessions, and then also getting the connections to all of our preferred providers. But just talk a little bit about, what the process was like once you signed on. Curious just how it was for you, and just how has it been doing all that learning, and then what actions were you able to take?
Yeah. So, I mean, another great question. I just feel like there were just a couple places in my brain where the synapse hadn't connected yet on the way that it worked, and the way that specifically the way that you could leverage some of these aspects of the debt that we had, or the equity for me specifically that I had in my house. And so the content was super helpful. There were a lot of things in it that were familiar to me. I had read a lot of those books. I'd already been thinking that direction, but I just didn't know how it would actually work out for me personally, and with my where I was in my position with my equity in my house and with my financial portfolio. So kind of going through that was really helpful. I think knowing I'm kind of a doer, and so if you can point me in the right direction, and especially if I trust you, and I trust you and Blake wholeheartedly, and so if you can point me in the right direction and tell me what to do, like I will do it. I will drop everything I have and get it done and make it happen. And so one of the best parts, I think, for me personally, about the program was you guys had the next step right away. And there were a couple of times where I was like, give me the next one. And you're like, you know what? I normally wouldn't, because I want you to go through this at a specific pace, but you're getting after it. So here's the next thing. Here's the next thing. And so I was just asking, can I have the next thing? Can I have the next thing? And so to me, one of the most beneficial aspects about working with you guys was being able to just be told what to do. And there was almost a sense where some of this will catch up to you. If you start doing this now, you'll understand as you're doing it. And like I said, I trust you guys wholeheartedly. You're proven, you've got the track record. So it was like, let's go down this road and let's get it done. And already I'm seeing dividends on it, which is amazing. So the program, the videos were awesome. I showed some of them to my wife. We would talk about it. It was so much fun. Books, most of those books I had already read, but it was the one-on-one calls. It was the just talking with you about stuff. I would text you all the time. You probably got super annoyed because I was always texting you like, what do I do? How do I do this? But being able to hear a clear and coherent understanding of the way that I was leveraging my property and the equity that I had in that property to be able to buy these other properties, and then have tenants pay it down and have some extra cash, just income, passive income from those. I mean, that was just from a high level to the details to the fine minutia of it, it all made sense. And it was really, really exciting to go through it with you guys.
And I got to commend you because you took action and took action in a big way, in a very urgent way. So that's really our job, is to sort of lay out the template and the blueprint, and then it's just your part of the bargain, to just go and execute. And you did that, just sort of flawlessly.
Well, and it
Just
was
wanna commend you
abundantly
on that.
clear that you guys had that roadmap, you had the blueprint. And I think that's the most encouraging thing for somebody, because I've done stuff with people where, they're like, hey, let me help you out. And you start going down the road with them and you realize like it's foggy in their mind. Like they don't even understand what they're doing. And so for me to walk through with you guys and to see you've been there, you know what to do, you've done it several times, and you're able to walk me, like every question that I had, some of them were very specific, like weird things. And every question I had, you were like, yep, good question. Here's what I did. And here's how it happened with me. And so there was such confidence in, and just comfort. Like I would tell my wife, like, oh, I don't know what's going on, but I'll call Brandon and he'll know. And so I'd give you a call and you would tell me and I'd be like, good to go. Like I know exactly what to do now because you've been there and you've done it. So that was super comforting for me.
Getting back to a little bit about the content, there's obviously a lot of, really, tangible kind of executional points in there about the roadmap of buying cash flowing investment properties. But what would you say changed most about your mindset specifically?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that changed with the mindset was understanding that, I think from the high level, there were two main issues. Number one, there's two different types of debt. I think that was so helpful from you and Blake, because you guys were both telling me, credit cards, spending money that you don't have, like that's bad. We don't do that. We're not asking about doing that. Like we're not about that. So there's bad debt for sure, but there's also good debt. And I think that was a big mental shift for me, because just debt was a curse word, and just get out of debt, and debt's bad. So to hear there's two types of debt, and to hear that really explained well, you guys did a great job explaining that, better than a lot of the books that I had read on it. And then secondly, to understand if there's these two types of debt, there's good debt, there's bad debt, to understand what good debt does that the bad debt's not doing, and what good debt can do for you financially for the future. So I think that was the biggest mental shift for me, is understanding those two categories and then diving deep into leveraging the debt that you do have, specifically for me, the equity in my home, leveraging that in a way where, for me now, I've got 5 properties. I've got these people that are paying, the tenants that are paying these properties. And as they're paying it, not only are they paying all of the mortgage and I'm getting extra, passive income from it, but they're also paying down the interest on my HELOC, on my debt, and also allowing me to pay into that in the principal of the HELOC. So to take that debt out and to understand it as good debt, to utilize that and to leverage that, and then to see that it's already being paid by all that I did to work. And it was just me making phone calls and signing documents. So to see that was the biggest mental shift for me.
So let's shift gears a little bit now and talk about kind of where you're at now. So where are you at now as an investor? How would you say you've kind of transformed through the course of the program, and just what's been the end result for you?
Yeah, so through the program, so I think we started in December, January of last year, and I bought, I believe, the first property. I think I closed end of March, and then the last property I closed, last two actually closed on the same day, the very end of August. The 5 properties, number one, they pay for that interest, and number two, after paying for the interest, they also give me about $1,000 a month. So like that's so cool. So I'm not strapped for like a sense of, oh no, I have to keep this budget, I have to keep this by the book, because I know that I've got the extra income that's coming in. And so even though, it's like $1,000 a month of interest for the HELOC for keeping that, and even though that stinks and I wish I didn't have that, knowing number one, it's paid for by my properties, and number two, I get like an extra $1,000 by my properties. Like, that's totally worth it. And so I think that right now we are just enjoying, everything has settled because we're in the new year here. So we've seen about 6 months now of these properties cash flow. We've seen everything, just the dust has settled, and we've seen it all play itself out. And so now paying the HELOC down, just being able to enjoy the cash flow, knowing how like repairs work and stuff like that. Next, it's going to be taxes, because I've never done taxes before with these rental properties, so that'll be fun. But yeah, I just enjoying it. And now I think long term, as you and I talked about earlier, I think looking at either refinancing down the road if interest rates go down, and then pulling out money to scale in a different way, even bigger, or to be able to pay some stuff down. Just knowing that I have that and I've started that journey. I think you say it all the time of, the best time to plant a tree is a long time ago, so that you get the shade now, right? I wish that I had done this a long time ago, because I'd be enjoying the investment now. But so that's kind of what we're doing now. We're only a year into it, not even, and we're already seeing dividends. So I can just see down the road that this is going to be scalable. This is going to be usable. Like, we don't even just have to let it sit. We could just let it sit and it's going to do its thing. But I think we can go in, we can refi, we can pull money out. It's just going to be really, really helpful. Yeah.
Last question I have for you. So now that you've been through the program, you've taken really decisive and immense action, you've already scaled your portfolio to 5 properties. For those people who maybe were in your shoes a year ago, they have some equity in their home, or they've amassed some savings, and they've seen the stock market sort of just go up and down, kind of in a very stressful roller coaster fashion, and they've been thinking about real estate, but maybe they feel stuck, or maybe they feel like they're in a sort of an analysis paralysis kind of phase. What would you tell those people, and what's been sort of your piece of advice for them?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot that I would say. I'd want to talk with them and figure out what it is that they're hung up on, because the analysis paralysis isn't a one size fits all. And ultimately, I think for me, just seeing the reality of the gamble, the difficulty, the potential loss, it's there anyway. If you're putting your money in the stock market, it's there. It's there no matter what you're doing, unless you're just, sitting on your money at home, under your mattress or something, which you're just losing money because of inflation. So it's there. So I think being able to help people understand, money is going to work for you, no matter where you put it, if you're investing it wisely. But it's also gonna have a gamble. And so the question is there a better place? For me, that was the biggest answer. The key kind of that unlocked everything for me was a good, better, best. I don't think the stock market's bad, and I still have money in the stock market. But is there a better option? Is there another option? Even just a side-by-side option. Is there a way to have one foot in one camp? And then I think for somebody that maybe has some extra cash and they're a little bit timid on certain things, or they're a little scared on stuff, to be able to say, start with one property. Like, you don't have to be crazy gung-ho, do 5 properties in 6 months like we did. Like, start with one and watch how it works and see how it works. My encouragement would be, if you do start with one and you see how it works and you do it slowly, you're going to realize, I wish I had done 5 really quickly. Like, you're going to wish you could go back and do it over again.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, it's just sitting down and talking, because like with you guys, I think the first couple of times that I met with you and Blake, I had serious concerns. I don't think I was the, analysis paralysis kind of a guy, but I had a lot of questions that were the roadblocks for me. And as you answered those questions, I think just being able to talk, and it took hours, but being able to talk it out and see how it works, that's what you have to do with everybody who's struggling with that. And so I think they all come from a different place. But I would say the long term, I think the biggest thing is just people are probably not understanding the long term. They're just looking short term. And it is a long term thing. And it will cost, right? I had a couple repairs that the first time they came up on my portal, I was like, what? I'm losing money this month. And then to realize, wait, time out. It's an investment. And the next month, I got all of my money back and then some. So to me, it's a long-term investment. And then you have to understand the numbers game of all of these properties. Like, even if I literally just broke even every single month, I'm still making money because somebody else is paying the principal down on these properties and I'm gaining equity. So I think it's a lot of those mental shifts, but if you can think of how that's going to scale itself out, 10, 20, 30 years. I mean, for me, I'm looking going, I still got money in the stock market, but in 30 years, if I have all 5 properties paid for and I'm getting rental income from all of them, that's literally more per month than I make right now. So I won't even need this over here. And that'll just be extra on the side. And by the way, I don't think I ever told you this, but I turned in my notice to school a few weeks ago, actually, to say, this is my last year teaching. I'm done. I don't need to teach anymore.
Wow. No, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And
This is it.
that's really kind of full circle, because that's really where a lot of our conversations started, was how you can really like set out a roadmap to
Yeah.
stop teaching. And I said, it's
Yeah.
not going to be tomorrow, but this is the way to do it. And it's a
Right.
testament to you and your trust both in us and your sort of trust in the process, as we explained kind of what the roadmap was, and you took
Mhm.
action. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. And another thing
Mhm.
that you honed in on the last answer was really your why, and why you
Mhm.
would do this and why you would take the leap and push outside your comfort zone. That's because you want to be more involved with your church, more involved
Mhm.
with your congregation, with your family. And having that passive income really unlocks the ability to do what you want to do, and to do what you've been called to do, which is
Yeah.
really, really awesome. So Patrick,
Yeah.
with that, thank you for speaking with me today. Thanks for the time. I'm so excited about your progress. I can't wait to see what the future has in store as you continue to scale, and you continue to build the portfolio. But it's been just a pleasure working with you, man. And
Mm.
yeah, nothing but the best.
Hey, likewise, brother. I really appreciate it, man. And you guys are the best. And if anybody has any questions and they want to talk to somebody who's been through it very recently, I'm always available to chat with them.